Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Just More Stuff Retro Collecting. And yesterday we uploaded a small video off the phone. The audio was not so good, so I apologize for that. But in it, you saw a Sears 8-track recorder. We're getting ready to test that. We actually know the transport works well, but we wanted to show you the inside, and you can see the overhead view from it here. We have the recorder out of the shell. Back in the day, 70s, 80s, and 90s, a lot of times you had a transport that was used in a lot of things, and it was a shell was put around it and a backing board like like this. So it was much simpler, easy to get to, easy to repair, put together, assemble, etc., and also very durable. Well, this seems to be working well. Uh, It looks like it's a Tanashin Transport 48 track, all metal. See if we can give you a better view of it. There we go. And you can see a better view of our Close Encounters of the Third Kind cartridge we're going to test it with. But basically, they were simple. If you notice in the front, or saw in the video, there are no LEDs on, and that's simply because they don't turn on until you put a tape in. That's recording or playing. Um, I don't think there's a pause on. Oh, there is a pause on this one. Okay, some have it, some don't. They're very simple. They're called 8 tracks because there were actually 8 tracks on that tape. And it would play two at a time for stereo, and it would move the tape head up and down, um, hopefully keeping somewhat aligned. Um, this was not a format that lasted forever. It was a format that you either loved or hated or both. Um, but it did what it did. And here's an example of how you work it. I'm going to hold the top. I'm not going to try to grab any of the metal. Um, I don't have any gloves on, so I don't want to get shocked if there's any bad caps or anything in here. But here's what it does when it turns on. Just goes in. You can see a tape. The capstan pulls the tape on. It is an endless loop in the tape. And if you wanted to change the track, you just press the button in the front. Let's see if we can give you a better view of that right here. And that would change the track. And you would see the LED change over. And this gives you an idea of what's really happening. You can see the transport work. And if you notice, this little part right here is moving up and down. So I'm going to turn on the audio on the amp just to see if it is playing. I'm not going to play too loud because I don't want to get. It does work. Sounds like it might be a little bit slow, but it's actually amazing that one of these transports has a working belt in it. A lot of times they're falling apart if you're lucky, if they're even in one piece. But this one seems to be working well. And the way you eject it and stop it, uh, oh, there's the pause. That does work. So you can see the transport stopping. Um, the way you eject it is very simple. You pull the cartridge out. These usually had 60 or 90 minutes on them. I don't think there were any larger tapes than that. There may have been, probably were, but they would probably be thin enough it wouldn't work well. But anyway, we're going to take this apart, put it back together, um, and show you how that fits. That case fits in. So try to do this without knocking my headset off. So basically, now that it's out, we're going to put it back in to the unit. It slid out the front. I'm making sure I have the way it should be. Yep. Alright, had to flip that around, but let's go back to the other camera. Let you see a little bit easier what we're doing. So we're going to take all the cords, pull it back through the case. And this is a working unit, so we're not going to do too much. The heads look clean, so I'm not even going to... Yeah, maybe I can take a minute and do a quick head cleaning. Excuse the headset there. So just going to lift the door up. Now, the sound was decent enough. I'm not going to worry about doing a demag on it yet. And these are big enough that you can easily get the magnetizer in without causing problems. And we're cleaning off the contacts, if you can see. Let's see if you can see a little bit better like this. If you see, I'm well clean the head, clean the contacts. A little metal piece of tape goes across this, and whenever the unit needs to change channels on its own, that's how it learns to do that. Now I'm trying to clean the capstan. If you can see under that wheel, this is a little harder to do. Actually, let's move the camera over here. You can see a little bit better. I think I'm going to take it from this side. The capstan did have a lot on it. It seemed like the head wasn't too bad, so obviously somebody cleaned that. Well, that definitely got a lot off. So the cleaning was a good idea. But get back to putting it back together. I use that for some really bad cleaning spots later. Well, basically what you're doing is pulling everything back through until it's flush into the top. We're going to actually screw all the screws in. If you notice, you can see through where the transport gets screwed to the back. And this is how they would have been assembled at the factory too. So if you were working in the 70s or 80s, probably 70s when this one came out, I could look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's probably 70s. This is what you would have been doing all day. Putting screws in, lining up transports, and probably gotten paid probably $3.75 to do it at that point, because you did not get paid that much in those days for electronics assembly. Or this was made in Japan, or Taiwan, one of the two. And it probably says on the back, let's see, where's it? Made in Taiwan. So, as you can see, it was a lot simpler because you just had one whole transport surrounded by one box, and actually this is real wood. It's not expensive wood, but it's real wood. This will be the last one. We'll put the back on. So the back is just a card, basically. Take the output and the electrical. As you can see, the output slips in here and the electrical slips in here. Put the wood down to the slot. Line up the screws and put the screws back in. And then we'll test it and make sure she actually does turn on again. We're not going to run the audio, as we're going to set that amp back up to what it was set up for, playing records and testing small stuff. So that is it. That's the back of it. A simple output, auxiliary in for recording if you do record. Most people don't record with 8 tracks. It was an oddity to have somebody do that. But it is all back together, and I'll show you from the front what we did when we turned it on before, and make sure it works again after we've taken it apart and back out. All I'm going to listen to is look for the lights and switching the heads, and you can watch the blinking lights on the front. Get that position so you guys can see it a little bit. So it's simple, just put the cartridge in. It's something similar as it was used at radio stations, a cartridge machine, which you would have put cartridge in whenever you played the commercials. So that's kind of a little bit where the 8-track system came from, or spawned that. Anyway, switching channels, works, and back to number 1. In the pause, you can hear the motor stop. That basically just turns off the motor. And the fast forward allows the fast forward. But I'm going to shut it off again. Take it out. Everything did work, so we didn't break it when we took things apart. But that was just a little quickie inside of what it looks like for an 8-track. If you've never heard of one or seen one, it's an interesting technology. It came out, played well, the sound wasn't too bad, but halfway in the middle of your song, half the time, if it would be at the end of the tape, it would split up where you'd have to wait for the end of that end of that track to go to the next song. It was not a perfect thing, but it was something you saw pretty much every 70s car. So if you go to oldies shows, you'll probably see it laying around in somebody's car just for looks. But anyway, this has been Just More Stuff. Subscribe to us. Please like our videos. Turn alerts on, etc. We'll probably upload this to both places, both maybe Rumble and YouTube. It depends. So, matters on who's the fastest. But you'll see us soon. Again, please subscribe to our videos, give us some likes. That helps us. We're just very small, just babbling around with some old electronics. Hope you get to enjoy that and get to see some of the stuff you don't normally see. Alright, well, you have a good one, and we'll see you next time we grab something.